Hello everybody, welcome back. I hope your day is starting off just great. Let me introduce this video here with this pic behind me. This is Qualicum Beach on the east side of Vancouver Island, posted by Steve in the I Choose Canada group. Another beautiful spot in our amazing country. Thanks for posting it, Steve. In this video, I'm going to cover a topic that's been in the news for the last couple of days. It's an announcement that was made by a U.S. car company who's changed its plans and is going to manufacture product in the United States now instead of Canada. So it's a hot topic in our country. And of course, there's a lot of inflammatory rhetoric and a lot of politicians jumping in front of microphones and saying things without thinking very much. So I thought I'd go over some of the details with you and explain exactly what's happening. And then I'm going to propose what politicians should be talking about instead of the doom and gloom that they're spewing right now about this topic. But just before we get into it, let me quickly ask you here. Are you one of the 3/4 of the viewers that are enjoying the content on this channel, that are repeat viewers and you like the channel, but you are not yet subscribed? Think about doing it. It helps the channel grow, it gets the numbers moving up, and it increases the channel's reach on YouTube, which means more people can hear the message. So the headline here on Global News, just a couple of days ago, what to know as Stellantis moves some auto jobs to the US from Canada. And even this headline is misleading because there haven't been any jobs moved yet. This is what was actually announced. Stellantis outlined plans to invest $13 billion to expand its operations in the United States and create more than 5,000 new jobs south of the border. Part of that expansion plan includes a $600 million investment to reopen the Belvidere assembly plant in Illinois to expand the production of Jeep Compass models, which are currently being made in Brampton. Now, Stellantis hasn't mentioned whether it plans to close or revamp that Brampton assembly plant, and it will still be producing the Jeep Compass there until 2027, and we probably won't know for some time what will happen next in that Brampton plant. But Stellantis has other commitments in Canada. A Stellantis facility in Windsor, Ontario is still expected to produce electric vehicle batteries, and the company hasn't announced any change in these plans. In May 2022, Stellantis committed $3.6 billion to transform both the Brampton and the Windsor assembly plants to align with the company's electric vehicle and battery development goals. This was matched by a commitment from the federal and provincial governments of Canada of $1.4 billion to a total of $5 billion. Just as an aside, for all of you that support the 100% tariffs we have on Chinese EV imports, because of course China is subsidizing their industry and flooding the market with cheap product. The truth is that the North American automobile industry is one of the most heavily subsidized in the world. And the Canadian federal government and the Ontario provincial government both have some money in the game here. They have some leverage. So there's lots of time to discuss with Stellantis a possible replacement for the Ford Compass production in the plant with something else. In Windsor, they're continuing to build out their battery facility, a win for Canada. In Brampton, they're moving their Compass production down south, a loss. So on one hand, we've got a loss. On one hand, we've got a win. Companies are planning horizons 5 to 10 years for these production facilities, says David Abrams, president of the Global Automakers of Canada. So that's what's actually happening, but that hasn't stopped politicians to just jump in with inflammatory rhetoric right away, and no one's more angry than Doug Ford. And Doug Ford addressed this immediately, and he gave a speech, and he said, and I quote, I don't understand. They've invested $13 billion in the US. We're an auto manufacturing powerhouse here, Ford said. Ford vowed to help keep the Brampton plant open no matter what. We can produce the best vehicles anywhere in the entire world, right here in Ontario, so I need to keep pushing like they've never seen before. He's ready to fight, fight, fight. And I admire Doug Ford's enthusiasm, and most of the time I disagree with almost everything Doug Ford says. But in this particular case, he did say something that's completely true, and that is when he said, I don't understand. And that's right, Doug. You simply don't understand. When he went on to say, we can produce the best vehicles anywhere in the entire world, right here in Ontario. He's a cheerleader, okay? Doug Ford is a cheerleader, and he needs to be pointed in the right direction and told what to cheerlead for, and then he's your best guy, right? He's ready to fight, fight, fight like nobody's fought before. That I admire about Doug Ford, but This is the same guy that loved Donald Trump, hoped that he would win the election, even though in the campaign and for a year before the election, Trump told us exactly what he was going to do, that he loved the word tariff, that he needed to bring manufacturing jobs back into the United States, that he was going to take back that auto industry that was stolen from him. Tariff was his favorite word in the world. Doug, didn't you understand that? Didn't you understand what he was saying when you were supporting him? Of course, when Donald Trump got elected and then aimed and threatened Canada immediately, Doug Ford gave a speech where he said, I felt like a family member stabbed me in the back. Oh, I'll never support that guy again. Well, now he's on our side. He's Captain Canada, Captain Ontario. And I love you for that, Doug Ford, but you're right. You don't understand. And let me explain here. Who is the top automobile exporter in the world? Are you surprised? It's Germany. Second is China. And third is Mexico. Canada ranks 9th on this list, way behind even Mexico. And I'll point you to the third column in this chart, the trade balance. And this is in thousands of US dollars, all these numbers. What's very important here to look at, let's just look at Germany. Germany exports $280 billion worth of automobiles every year, and they import $141 billion worth of automobiles. This gives Germany a positive trade balance of almost $140 billion in automobile sales. China has a positive $150 billion trade balance. Mexico, almost $100 billion trade balance, and Japan, $128 billion trade balance. Look at Japan. Japan exports $151 billion worth of vehicles and only imports $23 billion worth of vehicles. Japan is a powerhouse of automotive production. What's so important about this number here, these positive numbers, means that these countries produce vehicles that are competitive around the world, that they can sell around the world. And what country has the world's most uncompetitive automobile industry? Well, that would be the United States. The United States, which exports $144 billion of vehicles and imports almost $400 billion, giving them a negative $250 billion imbalance, because US vehicles are not very competitive anywhere else in the world. In fact, a lot of the exports of US vehicles are exported to Canada and Mexico. Now, Canada, based on the trade imbalance, is the third worst in the world, behind the United States and the United Kingdom here. Canada imports $32 billion more vehicles than the value of our export. And just looking at these numbers, Mexico is kicking our ass. Mexico's automobile industry is a very profitable exporting industry, whereas Canada is a net importer of automobiles. Canada sells the vast majority of its cars to the United States, with exports to other countries being minimal. For example, in 2023, 93% of Canadian vehicle exports went to the United States. And in case you haven't heard, and I'm speaking specifically to Doug Ford now, the President of the United States says he doesn't want to buy our cars anymore. And even though Doug Ford is now ready to fight back, and he's brought up the idea of retaliatory tariffs already, Prime Minister Carney says now is the time to talk. Carney rules out hitting the U.S. with any retaliatory tariffs. Ford, who met with Carney on Thursday, offered a message to the Prime Minister: if we can't get a deal, let's start hitting the U.S. back hard. We are nice. Play nice in the sandbox, Ford told reporters. I am sick and tired of sitting and rolling over. We need to fight back. There's a time to hit back and a time to talk. And right now, it's time to talk, Carney told reporters. We're having intense negotiations right now, Doug. Don't screw up the intense negotiations. And this is a very critical piece of the puzzle, the most important information that I'll tell you in this video. Carney said he would brief Doug Ford on the progress of those talks, which have been centered on the steel and aluminum and energy sectors, including the possible revival of the Keystone XL pipeline. I did a video on this about a week ago. And right now, Canada and the United States are very close to announcing a fairly huge deal that could remove steel and aluminum tariffs that the U.S. has on our imports. And they would do that in exchange for Canada reviving the Keystone XL pipeline. something that Joe Biden canceled when he was the president. And everything Joe Biden did, Trump hates. But this is the other key bit of information. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, Trump's tariff czar, has said any possible trade deal will not involve the removal of tariffs on Canadian automobiles. He says that all the time. And so Doug Ford and Canada, we have to understand now the United States' position is they will have tariffs on our automobiles. Just recently in July, the automaker, Stellantis, reported a net loss of $2.7 billion in the first 6 months of the year. The company is simply not profitable, and they believe that by moving the production of this particular model to the United States, the company may be able to avoid all of the newly imposed tariffs. Except, of course, if they can't source all the steel and aluminum they need from the United States. If they can't do that and they have to import that material from Canada, they'll pay tariffs on part of the input of manufacturing that car. So it'll still be more expensive to produce it than it was before Trump's tariffs. But it also goes the other way, and I mentioned this example in a previous video. There was a German company that manufactured tractors in the United States, and the biggest customers for those tractors were Canadian farmers. And that company decided to halt their production of the tractors in the United States and build them in Germany instead. Why? Because they used Canadian steel and aluminum to build them. Now they import the same steel and aluminum from Canada to Germany and don't pay the tariff, manufacture them in Germany, and sell them to Canadian farmers. Companies will just figure out how to do things the least expensive way. And there will be a big adjustment in the economy of the whole world. And this move by Stellantis is just one example. So let me go back to this quickly here because it is the most important part of the video. This deal that Canada is working on right now, which involves steel, aluminum, and the energy sector, the Keystone XL pipeline, I expect that there will be an announcement on that soon. And Mark Carney is committed to not derailing those negotiations. At this time, to the disappointment of Doug Ford, it's not a smart idea to try and tie the auto industry into those discussions. So what's Doug Ford's plan? What is he up to? This headline here in Global News: Ontario launches a new $75 million anti-tariff campaign on U.S. television networks. Okay, so how do I put this delicately for all of you that are watching from Ontario, all of you who pay taxes in Ontario? This is the equivalent of Doug Ford filling 2 large suitcases full of cash, US dollars, $75 million worth of cash, flying to New York and going up the Empire State Building, right to the top, and then opening them up and throwing the cash out. That's what he's done. You're not going to change U.S. policy, and very specifically, you will not change Donald Trump's mind by putting ads on TV. In fact, he could use those ads as ammunition. Look at those Canadians coming here and trying to steal our jobs. They're on television telling you that they want to steal our jobs. He can just lie and use it to his advantage. This is a completely stupid idea, but I'm not just going to berate Doug Ford because I know that he's trying to do something, but like he said in his quote, I just don't know. He doesn't know what to do. So let me help you out, Doug. I'm going to speak specifically to Doug Ford now. This is what you should do. Instead of wasting 75 million taxpayer dollars to run ads in the United States, just make an announcement and talk specifically to the people in Ontario and to Canadians. You'll get covered by all the Canadian news. And if you want to put some ads on TV, you can. It'll cost a lot less than $75 million. And tell Canadians to start buying Canadian-made cars. These are all the cars that are manufactured in Ontario. We have to speak with our wallets, people, just like we did with travel. We boycotted travel to the United States, and the United States tourism industry is collapsing, and our tourism industry is booming. We've removed U.S. alcohol from the shelves of all our liquor stores, led by Doug Ford in Ontario. I think he was the first one to do that. And now guess what? Niagara wine and BC wine and Nova Scotia wine, they're booming. Look at this chart again. Canada exported $58 billion worth of vehicles, mainly to the United States. And this number is going to drop because there's tariffs on those imports now for Americans. Our vehicles are going to be less competitive trying to sell them into the United States. But look at this number. We import almost double that. $90 billion of automobile imports, mainly from the United States. We import 32 billion more than we export. Do you want to buy a pickup truck? And incidentally, research shows that 83.6% of people that buy a pickup truck never pick anything up. But if you want to buy one, buy the Chevy Silverado. It's produced by General Motors in Oshawa. The Chrysler Pacifica and the Grand Caravan are produced in Windsor. The Dodge Charger is produced in Windsor. The Honda Civic and Honda CR-V, two of the most popular cars in Canada, are built in Alliston, Ontario. The Lexus RX is produced in Cambridge, Ontario. The Toyota RAV4 and the Lexus NX are built in Woodstock, Ontario. This is what you have to do, Doug. You have to rally the people in Ontario. You have to tell them that our economy is under threat from the United States, and we need to all work together and vote with our wallets. If you're in the market for a new car, make sure you buy one that's produced in Canada. If even 25% of people change their mind, it would be a huge win for Canada. The same way that our tourism industry gained and the same way that our wine industry gained. You don't run ads in the United States trying to change Donald Trump's mind. He stated over and over again that he will not back down on the tariffs on Canadian automobiles. We have to rally all Canadians to choose Canada. I've been saying this since I started this channel. I choose Canada. That's the slogan. That's the best way we can help our country in almost any situation. Just spend your money here. If we can rally all Canadians to do this, the demand for all those models will increase, the domestic demand, and those companies will not want to shut down the production for those models because they'll have lots of customers here. You know which plants will get affected? The ones that move to the United States that we should boycott, like the Jeep Compass. We shouldn't buy them anymore. And if you think it won't make that much of a difference, Canada turning their backs and boycotting US-made cars, did you see that dollar value? $90 billion in 1 year? We are a net importer of cars. Doug Ford, you're wrong. We're not an automotive powerhouse. We just have a very heavily subsidized auto industry that's closely tied to the US. And the US is severing those ties now, and we need to pivot. If you want to protect our auto industry, we have to buy Canadian and do what I mentioned in a video a couple of days ago. We have to start diversifying and getting new partners. BYD comes to mind. I'm not going to talk about that in this video, but if you want to see some of these things that I've talked about in previous videos, I'll link them here in the top right corner. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this video was thought-provoking. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. If you're enjoying my content and want to support the channel on a monthly basis, consider becoming a channel member by clicking the join button. Have a fantastic rest of your day, everyone, and I'll catch you all on the next one.